Imagine you are walking through a dense, humid forest. A rogue branch grazes your arm, leaving a tiny, almost invisible scratch. A few minutes later, a fly lands on the wound. You swat it away, thinking absolutely nothing of it. It didn't bite you, it didn't sting you. But 24 hours later, the scratch begins to throb. The skin around it stretches and turns red. And beneath the surface, deep inside your healthy, pulsing muscle tissue, hundreds of microscopic, razor-sharp teeth are violently chewing through your flesh. You are not dead. You are not rotting. You are perfectly healthy, perfectly conscious, and you are being eaten alive from the inside out. Welcome to the terrifying reality of the New World Screwworm. Over the next 16 minutes, you are going to discover nature's most gruesome and calculating parasite, and how it turns living, breathing animals into walking, conscious, biological buffets. To understand this nightmare, you have to completely erase everything you know about normal maggots. When an animal dies in the forest, ordinary blowflies arrive within minutes to lay their eggs on the rotting corpse. They are nature's garbage collectors. They strictly consume dead, necrotic tissue. If you are alive and healthy, regular maggots are completely harmless to you. But the New World Screwworm, Cochleomia hominivorax, is a terrifying biological anomaly. Its scientific name translates literally to the man-eater. This specific fly has absolutely zero interest in dead meat. In fact, rotting meat is toxic to its babies. To survive, to reproduce, this fly requires warm, fresh, pulsing, living blood. The female screwworm fly is a stealth bomber. She searches the jungle, the farmlands, and even human cities for a highly specific biological target, an open wound on a living, breathing mammal. She navigates by tracking the carbon dioxide of your breath and the faint metallic scent of exposed blood. It doesn't matter how small the wound is. A tick bite, a barbed wire scratch, a tiny cut from shaving, or even the healing umbilical cord of a newborn animal. She lands softly, and in a matter of seconds, she deposits up to 400 microscopic, bullet-shaped eggs directly into the raw, exposed flesh. And then, she silently flies away, leaving behind a ticking biological time bomb. The host feels absolutely nothing. The eggs are completely invisible to the naked eye. But less than 24 hours later, the horror begins. The eggs hatch. 400 tiny microscopic larvae emerge directly into the open wound. And this is where the terrifying biomechanics of the screwworm are fully revealed. Look closely at their bodies. They are not smooth and squishy like regular maggots. Their bodies are deeply segmented, and each segment is lined with rows of stiff, backward-facing microscopic spines. They look exactly like the threads of a metal wood screw, and protruding from the front of their faceless heads are two dark, terrifying, razor-sharp mandibles shaped like twin meat hooks. They do not just chew the flesh, they physically screw themselves deep into the healthy muscle. With every single bite they take, they violently twist their bodies, driving themselves deeper and deeper into the tissue like living biological drills. They dive headfirst into the meat. But how do they breathe if they are buried upside down in your muscle? Evolution gave them breathing tubes, called spiracles, located perfectly on their back ends. They leave their tails sticking out of the wound just enough to pull in oxygen, while their heads continuously shred your internal organs. If the host feels the pain and tries to scratch or pull them out, a horrifying mechanism activates. The backward-facing spines along their bodies flare up and lock directly into the muscle fibers like fish hooks. The harder you pull, the deeper they anchor themselves. You cannot remove them. You can only feel them digging deeper into your body. But the screwworm is not just a mindless eating machine. It is a biological engineer. As they dig deeper into the host, they actively avoid major arteries. If they chew through a main artery, the host will bleed to death. If the host dies, the meat goes cold, bacteria takes over, and the larvae will die with it. So they carefully and intentionally navigate around the lethal veins. They want you alive. To ensure the meat stays fresh, the larvae constantly secrete a highly specialized, localized chemical cocktail into the wound. This liquid acts as a mild antibiotic. It prevents normal, rotting bacteria from infecting the wound. It keeps the tissue perfectly open, wet, warm, and fresh. They are not just eating you, They are actively maintaining your body as a comfortable, warm, biological cavern. They turn a living creature into a perfectly sustained, walking meat farm. Days pass. The tiny larvae grow exponentially, feeding on the fresh meat and blood. The wound on the outside of the skin may still look deceivingly small, like a tiny hole, but underneath the skin, an enormous, cavernous pocket of missing flesh is rapidly expanding. The host, whether it is a deer, a dog, a cow, or a human, is fully awake, fully conscious, and trapped in a waking nightmare. The pain is unimaginable and relentless. The host can physically feel hundreds of fat, spiky creatures wriggling, twisting, and grinding their fangs against its raw, exposed nerve endings 24 hours a day. Because the larvae are packed so tightly together in the hollowed-out pocket of flesh, the extreme friction of their writhing bodies actually generates physical heat. The wound literally becomes hot to the touch. As the cavern of missing flesh grows, the chemical breakdown of the muscle emits an incredibly foul, distinctively sweet odor. And this scent acts as a biological beacon across the jungle. It attracts more female screwworm flies. They land on the edges of the gaping, bloody wound and lay hundreds of new eggs directly on top of the feeding frenzy. The cycle compounds at a terrifying rate. 400 maggots become 800, 800 become thousands. Multiple generations of screwworms are now eating the host simultaneously. A completely healthy, massive 1,000-pound animal can be completely hollowed out from the inside and killed in less than 2 weeks, eaten entirely alive while its heart is still beating and its eyes are wide open. This parasite is so efficient, so utterly devastating, that in the mid-20th century, it threatened to wipe out the entire livestock industry of North America. Millions of animals were being eaten alive. Humans quickly realized that traditional pesticides were completely useless. You cannot spray highly toxic poison deep into a massive open wound without agonizingly killing the host. So, scientists were forced to design a weapon as ruthless and calculating as the screwworm itself. They built massive biological factories. They bred tens of millions of screwworm flies in captivity. But before releasing them, they exposed the male flies to intense, concentrated nuclear radiation. The radiation didn't kill the males. It permanently destroyed their DNA, rendering them totally sterile. They loaded these radioactive, sterile flies into airplanes and dropped them by the billions over the forests, swamps, and farmlands. It was a masterstroke of biological warfare. Female screwworms only mate once in their entire lives. When the wild females mated with the sterile, irradiated males, their eggs never hatched. The life cycle was violently and permanently severed. The population collapsed. It was one of the most successful biological eradication campaigns in human history. We pushed the screwworm out of North America completely. We won the war. Or so we thought. Recently, news headlines have begun to quietly report a chilling reality. The new World Screwworm is making a comeback. Cases are popping up in modern times, crossing borders, hiding in the wounds of imported animals and unsuspecting travelers. The parasite that eats you alive is patiently waiting in the shadows, looking for a tiny, microscopic scratch. So the next time you go for a hike, get a mosquito bite or a scratch from a branch, and you see a fly land on it, maybe don't just swat it away. Pay close attention to what it leaves behind. Being eaten alive from the inside out is a slow, terrifying agony. But what if a parasite didn't want to eat your muscle? What if it wanted to amputate your tongue, drink your blood, and physically replace your body parts forever? Click the video on your screen right now to discover the horrifying reality of the tongue-eating louse. And don't forget to subscribe to Dysfauna.